I told you so. People actually thought this guy wasn't going to get deported. It's insane. Fucking obviously. Yes, of course he's going to get deported. Let me see if I can... I'll watch a video about this real quick. Can be deported. Here we go.
Look, this is a very, very stunning move that's going to have repercussions for sure for all of...
That's the goal.
The other international students who have been targeted by the Trump administration.
That's what I want them to do. If somebody is an international student and they're coming to the country and agitating and causing political distrust, like, I don't think that we owe it to the rest of the world to be a, open platform for you to come here and cause political dissent. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, if you want to come here and complain about our politics, get the fuck out, go back to your country. Yeah, any country would kick them out. Yeah, exactly. It's such a ridiculous premise that we need to have people that are not even citizens of this country. We're going to import them into this country and educate them so they can protest and complain in our country. Why do we have that? Why do we need this? Yeah, go complain in your own country. Exactly.
Their actions and demonstrations that they've been participating in under at campuses all across the country. I'm just looking at my notes here because, as you mentioned, I'm just running out of court right now, but it's really, really important because Judge Jamie Comins has found that Mahmoud Khalil is removable under the Secretary of State Marco Rubio's assertion that his continued presence and his actions in the United States actually compromise foreign policy and political priorities. That's very stunning because that is actually the only thing that she ruled on today. She did not rule on the other allegations that were raised by DHS that he allegedly misrepresented information on his green card application.
None of that matters. It doesn't have to matter. Like, they can just deport him for whatever reason they want. That's what the rules say. I said this at the beginning. Everybody was getting mad at me for saying this, but like, it's a fucking fact. Yeah, that's what the rules say. That's fucked up though? No, it's not. Why is it fucked up that the country that you are a guest at, you are not a citizen. You're not a citizen. You might be a legal permanent resident, but you are not a citizen at. Why is it fucked up that they can tell you to leave? No. This is the same thing that I said before about, like, in Japan. Like, if somebody goes to Japan and they're, like, live streaming themselves being annoying, I think that Japan should absolutely get rid of them. 100% they should. Yeah, absolutely. Same as nuisance streamers? Yes, it's the exact same thing. And there doesn't need to be a crime. There doesn't need to be a violation, particularly. If somebody is coming to the country and they're being aggressive, annoying, disruptive, and problematic, get rid of them. It's that simple. It's so reasonable. Yes, this is common sense.
They said in court that they need not go further than Secretary of State's Marco Rubio's assertion, and she seemed to agree.
Yeah.
And Armando, before we get...
that's it. Yeah, none of the other stuff matters.
To, as you say, what sort of effect this could have moving forward, because there are other people being detained, on the same grounds. I'm wondering, what is Khalil's family saying about this? Have you heard anything from his family?
Have not heard from his family, but we did hear from him right at the end of the court as the hearing was adjourned. He turned to look at his supporters, and he also addressed the judge himself, saying, quote, I would like to quote what you said last time, that there's nothing that's more important to this court than due process, rights, and fundamental fairness.
Clearly, that is the due process. The due process is that the federal government gets to deport you if they think that you're a problem. That's the whole point. The due process is somebody is afforded that process of law. Everybody has a different set of due process. I don't know why people don't understand this.
What we witnessed today is neither of these principles were present today or in the whole process. This is exactly why the Trump administration has sent me to this court thousands of miles away from my family. I just hope that the urgency that you deem fit for me are afforded to the hundreds of others who have been here for months. Now, look, this is a really important caveat here because, as we know, there is another case, the federal case that's playing out in a New Jersey court. Right now, basically, the ball is in their court. We don't expect any sudden movement here. In fact, the judge here today gave his immigration administration legal team.
Somebody said Japanese Americans that got deported in World War II was also okay. You're getting permabanned because that's not what I said. You're drawing a connection to two things that aren't related in order to argue based off of an emotional, like kind of what you think is an emotional mandate. Yeah, that's just not how it works. It's a bad faith argument. They're manipulating your words. Yeah, there's no reason even to respond.
About 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, to file any motion for additional relief, to decide whether or not they want to appeal that decision. So that's still going to process and that's still going to play out. But now really eyes are on that New Jersey court and see what they rule as far as relief. And
Armando, this is a first of its kind here anyway, and there is a precedent that could be set here because other universities have reported other students being detained in a similar fashion. So I'm wondering, we're going to hear from Khalil's attorneys. We're waiting for that news conference. I know you'll be covering that for us. But in the meantime, I'm wondering what kind of effect this has. Do you think, now that the Trump administration has this legal victory on these grounds, keeping in mind Khalil is a green card holder and a legal permanent U.S. resident.
Yeah.
Will they try to do this to other people that they deem are, not okay to be in this country on those grounds?
I hope so. That's what that is the best case scenario. Absolutely. As they should. Yes. 100. Why wouldn't they? I don't know. Yeah. It's not even a question. Like yes, if somebody is coming to this country to cause political unrest, I want them deported. Period. If they're not a citizen, I want them deported. And the reason why is because we have enough of our own problems. You are a guest in this country. You are not a citizen. You have no right to be here, and you can leave. Like I would feel the exact same way if somebody went to Britain and they were protesting and they weren't a citizen and Britain told them to leave. I would feel the same way if somebody went to China. Well, we know what would happen there. I would feel the same way if somebody went to Brazil and they went to Brazil and they started complaining. You go over there for college and now you're complaining and causing trouble. This is common sense for any normal person. The only reason why people are against this is because they agree with his cause. That's it. Because the U.S. is funding the killing of Palestinians? Yeah, I think that's really bad. And so that's a problem that I think Americans need to solve, and we need to approach that as Americans. I don't want to import in foreign people to tell us what our problems are and what we need to care about. And also, by the way, you're using like an emotional appeal again. It's like, well, because this really bad thing is happening, this gives me the get out of jail free card, a blank check to do whatever I want. No, that's not the way it works. The fact is that there are like hundreds of atrocities all over the world that happen all the time. And so why is it that this one is going to just give you the ability to just simply ignore the law? That's not how it works. And think about how many other countries have problems like that, too. No blank checks, no loopholes. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Sure, and look, it's very clear that the Trump administration wanted to make an example out of him. This was the very first high-profile case of an international student being targeted by the Trump administration over his alleged actions during demonstrations. Now, it's really important here because his legal team did push back on a lot of those claims. There was a lot of information that was filed actually just 2 minutes before the hearing happened. You got to remember, the legal team representing Mahmoud Khalil only had about 48 hours, a little less than 48 hours to review all of the evidence that was being presented against their client and then form a proper rebuttal. Throughout the entire hearing, they said that they wanted a continuance. The judge actually denied that request. Now,
because it's not complicated. That's the reason why. Like the law is it's pretty much plain English. Like there's not really a lot of complications to this. Like there's no reason to like do a runaround for this. What's considered political unrest? Because in a certain way, this could be considered taking away the person's right to free speech. I'm not interested, and I don't particularly care about maintaining a non-citizen's right to free speech to come into the country and cause political unrest. I just simply don't care. I think that the at least like ideologically, I think that the Constitution should apply to American citizens, whether it's being applied to non-American citizens. Like, for example, the Constitution says that you have the right to vote, right? Do we think that anybody who's here, even if they're not a citizen, should vote? I definitely don't think so. So, and by the way, the government doesn't either. So the whole logic that because the Constitution says this, that means that we need to follow it. Well, that's not applied in multiple other amendments, right? For example, voting. Voting's the best example I have. And so, no, I'm just not interested in that at all. Free speech advocate, by the way. Yeah, for Americans. Absolutely. And also, what do you I've never been like I'm not just simply this is something that I've heard before. Am I a free speech, like what do you call it? What's the word for it? Free speech absolutist? Have I ever said that about myself? A green card doesn't make you a citizen. What's the point of it then? So you can be a resident in the country. And you can work in the country? Okay. Of course. Right, scared? Yeah, of course. Because I've never said this before. I've never had this opinion. That's not it. People are really struggling with day one logic. Yeah. Well, this is the thing is that, again, which is done by protesting. This is somebody arguing. Do you actually believe this is a priority to deal with right now? Yes, I do. I do. I absolutely do. I'm glad this guy's getting deported, and I hope they do it to more people. Absolutely. And if like this is another example, right? Is that the strongest argument that this person has is using something that I didn't say against me. So yeah. This has nothing to do with free speech. Yeah, I know. Due process is important. Sorry, you can't just deport without due process. Well, the due process has already been applied. That was the judge's ruling.
Spoke about the other students, the other cases that we've been covering. Absolutely, this can definitely have ramifications there, because if this judge is finding that the only thing that they had to do is have this memo, this two-page brief written by Secretary Rubio asserting that their presence affects foreign policy or their political priorities somehow, well, then that can also be applied to other students now.
Yeah, Armando, I know we're waiting for Khalil's attorneys to speak. I also know what it's like to run out of court and report like you did today, so thank you for getting us the latest information. Yeah, no, I know how that is.
And you have, obviously, there are some people that are arguing, why don't you try talking to a real lawyer then? You seem so sure. Well, so did his lawyers. But you know who else is a lawyer? A judge. A judge is an elite lawyer. And guess what? A judge decided that he's gone. So I don't need to do that because it's already been done. That's why he's gone. Yeah, the court already ruled on it. It's that simple. Yeah, this is a huge W. I'm very glad to see this guy get removed, and I think they should do it to everybody else. All of the other people that were participating in these protests where they were taking over buildings and stuff, even if you were just tangentially involved and you're not an American citizen, get the fuck out.